When Bonanza first aired in 1959, no one could have predicted that it would grow into one of the most important and longest-running Western series in television history. For over a decade, the Cartwright family captured the imagination of millions of Americans who tuned in week after week to watch their adventures on the Ponderosa Ranch. The show became a cultural icon, shaping how audiences thought about the American frontier, family values, and the Wild West. On the surface, Bonanza appeared to be a wholesome drama, filled with stories of courage, love, and justice. Viewers admired the Cartwrights for their strong family ties, their sense of morality, and the way they stuck together through thick and thin. But as often happens in Hollywood, what audiences saw on their screens was not the full story. Behind the scenes, the cast and crew of Bonanza dealt with struggles, conflicts, and personal choices that were often very different from the perfect world of the Ponderosa. The actors carried secrets that were not revealed to the public at the time. From creative battles to personal tragedies and even quiet acts of social courage, the real Bonanza story was filled with as much drama as any script written for the show. Today, many of those untold truths still fascinate fans, showing us that even in the middle of fame, life behind the camera can be far more complicated than it appears on television. Michael Landon, who played the lively and charming Little Joe Cartwright, quickly became one of the most popular faces of Bonanza. But Landon was not satisfied with just memorizing lines and performing in front of the camera. From the early episodes, he had bigger dreams. He wanted to help write the stories, shape the direction of the show, and play a stronger role in production. At first, producers did not take him seriously. They thought he was too young and too inexperienced to handle writing or directing. But Landon was determined. After much persistence, he was finally given the chance to write one episode during the show's third season. To everyone's surprise, except perhaps his own, the episode was a huge success. This opened the door for him to write, and eventually direct more episodes. Over time, his influence on Bonanza grew stronger, and he began to leave his mark on the storylines. His ambition would eventually prepare him for even greater success on shows like Little House on the Prairie and Highway to Heaven, where he had complete creative control. Looking back, Landon's struggle shows how determination and hard work can change a career. What started as frustration over being ignored turned into a legacy of creative. When Bonanza first aired in 1959, it was unlike any other television show of its time. Westerns were already popular, but Bonanza took the genre to a whole new level by combining action with strong family values. The show told the story of the Cartwrights, a family living on the vast Ponderosa Ranch near Virginia City, Nevada. Ben Cartwright, the father, raised his three sons, Adam, Hoss, and Little Joe, in a world that was both dangerous and adventurous. The series quickly became a cultural icon, influencing how people saw the American West. Each week, millions of viewers tuned in not only for gunfights and cattle drives, but also for stories about loyalty, love, and honor. Families across America gathered around their televisions, making Bonanza one of the first shows broadcast in color, a household tradition. But the success came with challenges. What fans saw on screen looked wholesome and perfect, but behind the cameras, life was much more complicated. There were creative disagreements, personal struggles, and shocking choices that shaped the cast and crew's lives. For all its popularity, the story of Bonanza wasn't just about the frontier. It was also about real people trying to balance fame, ambition, and personal values. Many of those secrets only came to light years later, showing that even TV legends had hidden stories that audiences never imagined. Among the Cartwright brothers, Little Joe, played by Michael Landon, stood out for his charm, energy, and youthful spirit. Fans adored him, but Landon himself wasn't satisfied with simply being the youngest son on a hit show. From the beginning, he wanted to do more than act. He wanted to shape the stories. At first, the producers dismissed his ideas, thinking he was too inexperienced. But Landon didn't give up. In the third season, he finally convinced them to let him write one episode. To their surprise, it was a huge success. That single chance opened new doors for him, and soon he was not only acting but also writing and directing. His growing influence could be felt throughout the show's later seasons, where his storylines often had deeper emotional themes. Landon's determination also gave him the skills he would later use on Little House on the Prairie, where he became the creative leader. Looking back, it is easy to see that his persistence on Bonanza prepared him for an even bigger career. While audiences saw Little Joe as a lovable cowboy, behind the scenes Landon was fighting to be taken seriously as a writer and director. His success is a reminder that determination can turn frustration into opportunity, even in the tough world of Hollywood leadership that extended far beyond his role as Little Joe. Dan Blocker, who played the gentle giant Hoss Cartwright, was not just a beloved actor but also a man of strong principles. At the height of the show's fame, the cast was often asked to promote Bonanza in public appearances, especially in southern states where segregation was still common. Blocker made a bold decision. He refused to appear in front of segregated audiences. He insisted that if fans wanted to see the cast, everyone, no matter their skin color, should be allowed to attend together. This was not an easy choice. The studio lost money, and some promotional opportunities were canceled. But Blocker didn't waver. He even convinced the producers to pull Bonanza from syndication in cities that practiced segregation, making it one of the first TV shows to take such a stand. While other stars of the time avoided controversy, Blocker chose conscience over profit. He didn't make speeches or seek headlines. He simply stood firm in his belief that equality mattered. His quiet courage showed that sometimes the most powerful acts are the ones done without fanfare. To this day, Blocker's decision remains a powerful example of how an actor used his influence for something greater than fame. Fans who loved Haas for his kindness might not have realized it, but the man behind the character carried that same compassion in real life. While Michael Landon pushed for more creative control and Dan Blocker fought for fairness, Pernell Roberts had his own battles. Roberts, who played the oldest Cartwright's son, Adam, was a classically trained stage actor. He valued serious, meaningful storytelling and grew frustrated with what he saw as shallow, repetitive plots. Week after week, he argued with producers about adding more substance and diversity to the show. He disliked the lack of strong roles for women and the absence of racial variety in the cast. Roberts believed television could do more than just entertain. It could inspire and challenge people. But his ideas often clashed with the studio's focus on keeping the formula simple and profitable. The arguments grew worse over the years, until Roberts finally decided to leave the show in 1965. Officially, it was explained as a career move, but in truth, it was years of frustration boiling over. His exit was both a protest and a personal choice to search for roles that matched his values. Ironically, his leaving gave Michael Landon and Dan Blocker more screen time, and the show continued to thrive without him. Still, Roberts' story is remembered as a lesson. Standing by your principles can cost fame, but it also shows integrity. For him, leaving Bonanza was not failure. It was freedom to follow his artistic soul. One unusual feature of Bonanza was its treatment of romance. Unlike many shows, it avoided long-term love stories for the Cartwrights. Whenever one of them fell in love, it was almost certain the relationship would end in tragedy. Often the woman would die or leave before the episode ended, restoring the focus to the family bond. Over time, this became almost like an inside joke on set. Michael Landon's Little Joe had the most romantic storylines, but nearly every girlfriend he had met a sad end. For guest actresses, it was frustrating to know that playing a Cartwright's love interest almost guaranteed their character's death. While the rule was never officially explained, many believed the producers wanted to keep the main focus on the family, not outside relationships. Looking back, this pattern feels bittersweet. It added drama to the stories, but it also made love seem doomed in the world of the Cartwrights. Fans noticed the trend, and some even joked that being loved by a Cartwright was dangerous. Today, it stands out as one of the strangest quirks of the series, adding a dark twist to what was otherwise a family-friendly show. Ben Cartwright, played by Lorne Greene, was the heart of Bonanza. With his deep voice, silver hair, and wise manner, he seemed like the perfect father figure. But in reality, Greene was not that much older than the actors playing his sons. In fact, he was only 13 years older than Pernell Roberts and 18 years older than Dan Blocker. To make him appear older, producers carefully styled his hair, makeup, and costumes to create the image of a much older patriarch. Greene himself carried the role with such seriousness and dignity that viewers never questioned it. Off-screen, he was very different. Warm, approachable, and with a surprising talent for music. In 1964, at the peak of Bonanza's popularity, Greene released a spoken-word ballad called Ringo. To everyone's surprise, it became a #1 hit on the Billboard Hot 100. Audiences who knew him only as the stern Ben Cartwright were shocked to hear his musical side. This hidden talent showed that Greene was more than just the wise father on television. He was a performer with many sides. His ability to transform himself both on and off screen helped cement his place as one of television's most memorable father figures. Dan Blocker may have played the cheerful and lovable Haas, but behind the scenes, he faced physical challenges that fans never saw. Standing tall and weighing over 300 pounds, he often needed special costumes with stretch panels to allow him to move easily. On hot days under studio lights, he was vulnerable to overheating, and the crew sometimes had to bring him cooling fans between takes. Despite these struggles, he always delivered his role with warmth and humor. But tragedy struck in 1972 when Blocker died unexpectedly at the age of 43 from complications during gallbladder surgery. His death shocked fans and left the show without one of its most important characters. For the first time, the producers had to deal with the real-life loss of a Cartwright. Instead of replacing him, they allowed the family on the show to grieve, though the cause of Hoss's death was never explained. The absence of Blocker changed the tone of the series forever. The gentle giant who had brought so much heart to Bonanza was gone, and the show never fully recovered. His passing was not only a loss for the cast, but also for the millions of fans who had come to love Hoss as part of their own family. The behind-the-scenes stories of Bonanza weren't always tragic. Sometimes they were filled with humor and near disasters. In the late 1960s, a fire broke out on the Paramount lot where the Virginia City set was located. For a moment, it seemed the carefully built town might be lost forever. Crew members and firefighters worked desperately to save it, and although some damage was done, the show survived. Meanwhile, Michael Landon kept spirits high with his endless pranks. He loved surprising the crew, sometimes hiding rubber chickens in makeup kits or filling a co-star's boots with jelly. While not every joke was appreciated, his humor often lightened the long days of filming. Over time, the actors became more than just co-workers. They became a family, shaping their characters with personal touches that made them feel real. Landon pushed for Little Joe's depth. Blocker insisted Hoss remain gentle, and Green ensured Ben stayed a man of wisdom. Together, they created one of the most beloved families in television history. Even after the series ended, their legacy continued, influencing generations of TV dramas that followed. Behind the success were struggles, secrets, and personal choices. But those very elements made Bonanza more than just a show. It became a legend. While the Cartwrights became household names, the fame that came with Bonanza was not always easy to carry. In the 1960s, television stars did not have the same kind of privacy protections that actors enjoy today. Fans would sometimes show up at filming locations, hotels, and even the homes of the cast members, hoping to get a glimpse of their favorite stars. Michael Landon, in particular, received bags of fan mail every week, much of it from young women who admired his good looks and charm. While the attention was flattering at first, it also created stress. The actors were constantly in the public eye, and any mistake or personal weakness risked being exposed in the press. At the same time, television itself was changing. Other shows were beginning to push boundaries, experimenting with more modern themes and storylines. For Bonanza, which was built on traditional family values, keeping up with the times was difficult. Writers and producers faced the challenge of balancing the familiar format that fans loved with new storytelling methods that television audiences were starting to expect. The cast often felt the pressure of carrying a program that was not only a hit, but also a symbol of old-fashioned values in a rapidly changing society. Despite the tensions, disagreements, and tragedies, the actors who starred in Bonanza built a strong bond with one another. Long hours on set, constant travel for promotions, and the shared weight of carrying one of the most popular shows of its era helped create a deep sense of family among the cast. Lorne Greene often acted like a father figure off-screen, giving advice and guidance to his younger co-stars. Michael Landon, though ambitious, was also playful and caring, often helping lighten the mood during stressful filming days. Dan Blocker's kindness and humor made him one of the most loved members of the group, not just by fans, but by everyone he worked with. Even Pernell Roberts, despite his frequent disagreements with producers, shared a respect for his fellow actors that carried on long after he left the show. Over time, the actors began to see each other as more than colleagues. They became a second family, united by the challenges and successes they experienced together. For fans, this bond came through on screen, giving the Cartwrights a warmth and believability